Okay, once again, good day to all of you, especially my oral communication class, UMS A and UMS B 11. Okay. Hi there. So how are you? So this will be my third lecture to all of you, and we're going to talk about lesson 2, which is entitled Communication Principles and Models. So it is being introduced with the statement or quotation from Les Brown, and it says, "Your ability to communicate is an important tool in your pursuit of your goals, whether it is with your family, your co-workers, or your clients and customers." So it is very important nowadays that you need to develop your communication skills. And I will be here to teach you to hone your skills in communication. Okay, let's now talk about the communication principles. The first one that we have here is communication is engaging. So when we say engaging, communication is a dialogic process which makes a person engage in a conversation, discussion, or negotiation. What else? So any course of communication or exchange of information is in the light of our interaction with others. Like for example, engaging the self to others. As a two-way process, communication starts with the self that engages with others. So it will start from you, of course, as a communicator, then to the people whom you'll be talking with. If the self shows respect and understanding of others who have various backgrounds, needs, and expectations, communication will be effective. So respect is very important when we communicate with other people. And then after that, then there would be, our communication will be effective. Second one, communication is making choice. I know all of you here are making choices every day, either to breathe or not, or to live or not. But of course, it is up to you to have your own choices in mind. So also in communication, we need to make choices. And it is often said that it is not what you say, but it's how you say it. What does it mean by that? So this quote shows that when we engage in a communication with others, we make choices. So how do we do that? So we need to select the message to share and how we convey the message at a certain time and place. For example, we screen what we have to say in a job interview for us to show a pleasant image, especially when you are there. So of course, you need to show what you have, especially your skills, in order for you to be someday one of their personal. Next one, another example, we do not simply push our personal interests at any time we want, just like when we want to ask something from our parents. So when we ask something from our parents, so we need to respect them or something, hug them like that. And we need also the proper timing to ask something. Because when, like for example, when they are experiencing hot weather and they are also experiencing hypertension, something like that. So we need not to pursue our own agenda for that day. And we can move our intention the other time around. So we need also to consider their physical condition, in other words. So sometimes we do not achieve that we need due to poor communication, which could be due to wrong timing or not the right place to discuss something, or inappropriate choice of words or approach. So we need to have choices in life. And then number 3 is communication is irreversible. Okay, when you say irreversible, but also mean unrepeatable. So miscommunication can happen, but it can be prevented. Once the interaction goes wrong, you cannot undo or redo it, unlike in making a film. Like the director will simply say, command, cut, take 2, action. Okay? Thus, if you say something offensive, it cannot be taken back, even if you say, I'm sorry. The damage has been done. That may damage a relationship. So generally, people want to hear pleasant things or to receive a negative message, phrase in a nice or positive way. So everyone must learn how to communicate effectively, be it in school, at home, and at workplace or in various contexts. As King Solomon says in Proverbs 15 verse 1, it says here that a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So we need to be gentle every time we approach people, especially when we are communicating to the elderly or to those people who are in the high positions. Okay, let's proceed with the communication models. Okay. As a multifaceted activity, communication is explained by various models, but we will give focus on the 3 major ones. So we have the linear or transmission model, interaction or convergence model, and transactional model. So let's first have linear model. So linear model would mean which can be considered as transmission rather than communication. Another thing consists of just the sender of a message involved in communication. So why is it called transmission model? It is because the encoding of a message through a certain channel without a feedback. Responsibility is put on the sender to help ensure the message is successfully conveyed to the receiver, such as via letter, email, text message, fax message, or online private message. The examples of these are public speech or traditional lecture without interaction. Like for example, in public speech, we have the SONA or State of the Nation address. Okay, it's only the president who will be speaking. Another one is, example are advertisements or campaign. They're also form of linear model, which emphasizes the transmission of information, ideas, and attitudes to persuade or convince the listener or the receivers. So although linear model emphasizes clarity and effectiveness, it also acknowledges that there is noise that interferes with effective communication. It could be environmental noise such as loud music or noisy crowd, and semantic noise such as use of unfamiliar expressions or words and difficulty understanding another language. So we need to have this diagram to better understand linear models. So we have the sender, the message, the receiver. So the sender will only transmit the message or the idea to the receiver. Linear, so there's only one line of communication. But of course, the noise will interfere. So that will cause a barrier between the sender and the receiver. Another thing, linear model is associated with early telecommunication technologies such as radio and telegram, which are one-way channels of communication. So before, the only medium, like for example, to share news around the world or only here in the Philippines, is through radio and telegram. So that is another example of linear model. So this model was being emphasized and been recognized through these authors named Shannon and Weaver. So this model seems incomplete to explain the dynamism of communication as it fails to cover face-to-face interaction. Okay, so that's all about the model. Okay, how about the second model? We have the interactive model. This is also known as convergence model. So interactive model of communication deals with information exchange from sender to receiver or vice versa. Okay, unlike the linear model a while back, interactive model is a two-way in which the sender encodes and transmits a message to the receiver who decodes the message. Then the receiver encodes a message known as feedback and transmit it back to the message sender. As in other models of communication, encoding and decoding process in interactive model may be affected by the communicator's field of experience. So these are the factors that affect the process. We have the culture, travels or exposures. Okay. So travel or exposure, of course, the many places you've been through or you've been done. So the more knowledge you have when it comes to their culture. Next one is education. Of course, you're expected to understand things when you pursue college, masters, and PhDs. How about in context? So in context, it's all about the background. The fifth one is the social and mental attributes. So we are not all interpersonal. Okay, it means that when you say interpersonal, it is your association with other people. Because sometimes we do love intrapersonal. Intrapersonal would mean you only focus on what you're doing, of what your plans in life, and you decided to be a part with the society. How about mental attributes? So not all of us are being gifted with high IQ or intelligence quotient. So some of us are average. But even though, still we have the mind to think. Okay? And the last one, which is listed here, is the gender. So as we all know that women are more on vocals or more on when it comes to communication because they are verbally gifted compared to men. So being more interactive enriches the communicator's field of experience so that when a conversation initiator opens a topic which is similar to the receiver, he or she can relate to the topic easily, so there is an idea exchange or interaction. But even if he or she does not have any idea of the topic, if he or she is interactive by asking questions or showing interest, the initiator can fill in the knowledge gap also by his or her willingness to engage in the conversation. So this is best described, this model is best described through this diagram. Okay, so you can see there. So we have the source, encoder, then transmit the message to the encoder again, which is the receiver, and then it goes back. So from the receiver, it goes back the feedback to the encoder or the source. Okay, so it's a two-way process already, as you can see in the diagram. So compared to the linear model, there is no such thing as feedback. But in here, in interactive model, there's already a feedback or reaction. Okay, let's proceed to the third model, which is called the transactional model. The first one, this model presents face-to-face interaction and other forms communication as a dynamic process. What else? It suggests that we are simultaneously senders and receivers. So we sometimes become the sender, we sometimes also become the receiver. Another one, it views communication as essential parts of our social realities in which conversations and interactions are made within our physical and psychological context. So when you say physical, okay, it's all about the body. But when you say psychological, how we think. So involved in the exchange of information are called communicators. Communicators, not senders and receivers, okay? Because communicators generates social realities within. Okay, within the, we have three factors. We have the social, the relational, and cultural context. Okay, when we say social context, like parents and teachers pass on social context such as rules and norms. So of course, there are times when our parents will talk to us. Okay, they need to share or to establish rules in the house so that we need to follow them, as well as norms. Like for example, if your parents have cultures like this, so eventually you as their children will follow those cultures. So that's under social. Okay, next, relational. So relational refers to the relationship of one communicator to other. Like in our book, it says here that the question was, have you ever noticed that you speak in a different manner to your teacher than when you speak with your friend? Of course, when you speak with your teacher, it is blended with respect. But when you are with your friend, so it's just like you are equal in status or in the way you communicate. You don't have to say po and opo because you are at the same age. You can just tell them their names. Then the third one is the cultural context. So this refers to different identity aspects including race, language, gender, age, nationality, ethnicity, ability, and sexual orientation. And this will affect the way we communicate. For example, in high context Asian cultures, we tend to use nonverbal elements such as voice tone, gestures, facial expression. While in low context Western culture, interaction is verbally direct and less personal, even if there are disagreements, as the object is to carry out the tasks. Example, transactional. So to low context culture, communication is exchanging information, ideas, and opinions by spelling things out exactly. Like here in the Philippines, like for example, when we disagree with each other, sometimes it will take 10 years before someone else will have the opportunity to forgive you or the like. But in other countries like in America, so when they resolve disagreements, so they talk with each other, then talk with the problem, then solve it. Okay? So this model is best described. Before that, we need to be open-minded and flexible and to avoid making assumptions about others' cultural identities, so we will not offend others or be offended unreasonably because of unawareness of others' cultural context. Okay, there we go. So you don't need to make assumptions. Like for example, you really don't know about the culture of Western or the Western people. So do not make an assumption that they are like very bad or they are very good. Okay. Unless you have gone there and experienced their culture. But it says there that be open-minded and flexible. So to best describe this transactional model, so we have here the diagram. So first, we have the sender, his or her behavior, the channel, the message, the channel, behavior, then the sender. The other one, also the receiver, decoding, the feedback, the message, feedback, decoding, receiver. Okay. So these factors like behavior, the channels, the decoding process, and the feedback are all factors which affect transactional model. And of course, the noise, which is a barrier, is still present. Okay, so that would be all, and thank you so much for your time and listening this presentation. And don't forget to answer your activity on page 17 and 18. So we have the what to learn using read, write, and discuss technique. So you need to answer that so that you will become an effective communicator later. So good luck, God bless, and have a good day learning to